President Cyril Ramaphosa carved out 2 days in his busy schedule to meet with the Eastern Cape provincial government and executive mayors on an oversight visit. He highlighted what he believes are the key priorities for the poorest region of South Africa should be. On the U.S. front, the president continues to battle because almost immediately after Mcebisi Jonas was named as South Africa's special envoy to that country, the former deputy finance minister's comments about Donald Trump surfaced. Plus, the ANC's top brass attended the inquest into the deaths of their slain president, Chief Albert Lutuli, and anti-apartheid lawyer Griffith Mxenge as the state seeks justice for the families. This while former Secretary General Ace Magashula's day in court finally arrived. I'll also tell you more about the countdown towards the 1st of May when the dreaded VAT hike comes into effect. Finance Minister Godongwana said a mouthful about what is and isn't possible. I'm Ziyanda Ngcobo, and this is your week in politics. The week kicked off with President Cyril Ramaphosa announcing Mcebisi Jonas as a special envoy to the US. Jonas is widely known for rejecting a 600 million rand offer from the Gupta family during the state capture years. His appointment has elicited largely positive reactions, with many citing his experience as a politician, state technocrat, private sector leader, lifelong activism, and his overall demeanor as evidence that he is fit for purpose.
Also to analyze this and think that Trump is a crazy person who has absolutely no clue about what is going on, that's a misunderstanding, and we will pay dearly for making that kind of a mistake. I think Mcebisi is that kind of a person who's going to help us to really sift through all of this thing and come up with appropriate responses to what they are trying to communicate to us.
BRICS Business Council CEO Stavros Nicolaou says choosing to send an envoy instead of appointing a new ambassador to the US is a wise move.
So an envoy is not a bad concept, given that it's not a permanent position and you can withdraw an envoy as and when you need. So we kind of liked that as an idea, so that was a good development. And I think lastly, you do probably need someone right now that has both a good political and business mix, and I think you've got that in Jonas.
If not us, there's nobody else who can fix our country. I thank you.
But the moment for glowing reviews and thumbs up was short-lived. On Monday, soon after the announcement of his new role, comments Mcebisi Jonas made during an Ahmed Kathrada lecture resurfaced. In 2020, Jonas addressed the gathering a few days after Trump lost the elections to Joe Biden and referred to him as a racist, homophobe, and narcissistic right-winger. There were concerns about whether or not these comments would end his appointment before it even started.
We don't believe that President Trump is a man that holds grudges. If that was the case, a number of his cabinet members will not be serving in his cabinet. Mr. Pozole will have not been nominated for ambassadorship to South Africa on behalf of the US. And so we believe that President Trump and members of his administration will have an appreciation that in politics, things do get said, but that doesn't mean that people are beholden to those positions.
Jonas has thanked the president for entrusting him with this responsibility and has pledged to rebuild ties with the White House. He's also moved to clarify that his comments about Trump 5 years ago were made in his capacity as a private citizen. Jonas was speaking to talk radio station 702 earlier this week.
At the time, I was outside of government. At the time, I was speaking as an activist, and I think these things happen. I mean, people move on. I mean, and confront the challenges of the time. I mean, I'm sure if you Google any politician has said something nasty about one other politician or the other. But the reality of the matter is that the challenge that we all face and the task at hand, it is to work on the relations between the two countries. And I think, firstly, I'm committed to doing that. But secondly, I think I've got the backing of government initially, but also of South Africans in general.
When it comes to other reservations about Jonas, who is the current chairman of MTN, which recently invested in Iran's Sal, the presidency says it's critical to separate the roles. It also adds that the United States itself is in talks with the oil-rich country and doesn't believe this will influence any possible negative perceptions about South Africa.
What are the facts? MTN made an investment in Iran's Sal. Mr. Jonas does not have ties with Iran, as well as its leadership and political establishment. So we need to we need to differentiate these issues. That investment that MTN made in Iran Sal was no different from investments they've made in other parts of the world, where they've partnered with local telecommunications service providers, right? Secondly, MTN, we believe, has dealt with that matter, has interacted with the US authorities, and to date, neither MTN nor Iran Sal are under any sanctions regime.
President Cyril Ramaphosa arrived in the Eastern Cape this week for his fifth oversight visit with his cabinet to the provinces in a push to bolster service delivery. On Tuesday, he kicked off his two-day jaunt at the port of Ngcobo, which is one of our country's newest deepwater ports designed for high-efficiency container handling and large vessels after it was established in 2009. Transnet management also briefed him about operations at the port.
Being here has given me, the ministers who have been here in this visit, the opportunity to see that we can grow our economy enormously and make South Africa a hub in as far as the ocean's economy is concerned. And this being part of our ocean economy master plan, it's well positioned, and obviously we have to bring in a lot of investments. And it is to this end that the government will play its own role in investing, as well as attract the private sector to come and invest quite a bit of their money as well. And in the end, we want to see this contributing to job creation.
The port of Ngcobo has emerged as a key strategic asset, especially during the Red Sea crisis in 2023. This was when cargo from the western and northern parts of the continent could not move through the Suez Canal and was instead redirected via the Cape of Good Hope. Now, there's a new challenge of tariffs being imposed by the United States, but the acting chief executive at Transnet's National Ports Authority says the impact has been minimal to none so far.
Just recently, led by the Minister of Transport, we are having a task team to look at the conversations in terms of the movement in the port, where we analyze and assess the number of vessels carrying the US flag that came into the country and docked or that have sailed out of the country. I can assure you that through the assessment that we have done, minimal impact. There were very few vessels that we have seen when we analyzed the movement for the entire financial year 2024-2025. So now with all these conversations that are going, I can assure you from the port side, we are very much alert and we are prepared. And also we are having plans in case maybe there can be any issue that will be required from the port side.
The home of the legends remains the poorest province in South Africa. It is plagued by high levels of unemployment, especially among the youth. It's also known for dismal service delivery by the local government sphere. Compounding an already dire situation, the Auditor General's 2023-24 consolidated report revealed financial mismanagement resulted in the loss of 197 million rand. The AG found the Eastern Cape had the highest number of irregularities of all provinces in that period.
We are called upon to drive inclusive growth and to create jobs. It is concerning that so many young people in our province remain unemployed. And we are called upon to answer the cries of our people for better service as well, for jobs, for decent healthcare and education, and for protection from crime and gender-based violence.
Meanwhile, Eastern Cape Premier Oscar Mabuyane raised his concerns about the impact of the tariff hikes on the vehicle manufacturing industry, which is the bedrock of his province's economy.
The automotive sector is still the pillar of our provincial economy. And we host more OEMs than any other province in the country. We are worried about the issue of tariffs that the USA is imposing on our country. However, we are ready to host BYD and other car manufacturers who want to locate their operations here in South Africa. This issue of tariffs, Mr. President, is really going to be a serious pinch from where we are seated. I know this morning I had a worrying message from the CEO of Mercedes-Benz for a meeting that he would want to have, and couldn't hide it, that the issues about tariffs, and how do we look at it from that point.
One car manufacturer is feeling the weight of pressure from Chinese brands which are growing increasingly popular in South Africa. Newzroom Afrika's business anchor Ziyanda Ngcobo takes a look.
Audi has called on the South African government to assist the sector amid the pending US tariffs and stiff competition from Chinese brands. The German automaker also cited inconsistent regulatory execution as a barrier to the industry's growth. The company, which is a subsidiary of the Volkswagen Group, has stated that the luxury vehicle industry has shrunk to about a third of its size, with 2024 representing the lowest level ever.
We're fast approaching the 1st of May when the VAT hike is due to take effect. By now, I'm sure you've already received a notification or two about a 0.5 percentage point increase, be it from your bank, your insurer, you name it. And while you fret about stretching your rands, the parties that voted for the fiscal framework continue to promise that this simply won't happen due to the revenue proposals that they will put forth to replace the tax increase. But nothing's been put forward yet, and as Finance Minister Godongwana pointed out this week, unless Parliament says otherwise, the VAT hike stands.
Let me say, I'm not married to any percentages or any increase. You will recall that I presented in Cabinet on the 4th of February a budget with no tax increases. That budget is still available. So the issue is for people to make the policy choices. If you don't have tax increases, then you must then say, how do you make sure that the fiscal framework balances? In other words, if you remove the 0.5%, an equivalent amount on the expenditure side will have to go. Those are policy choices not made by me. Now it's before Parliament. Parliament is representing different political parties. Those political parties have got to make those choices.
Speaking on the sidelines of the cabinet visit to the Eastern Cape, Godongwana also reflected that poor planning, more than a lack of money, is to blame for the decay at a local and provincial level.
In my view, in most cases, it's not funding. It's the capacity to spend. Let me just give you an example. The municipality that we're in at the moment, Kabeja, is sitting in the bank with a cash of 4.4 billion rand surplus. So there's no reason why they can't fix street lights. You see what I mean? So your problem in most cases is the ability to spend and to do and plan. So one of the things we are going to focusing on the infrastructure side now is to look at how do we work with provinces, with departments and municipalities on proper planning and secondly on execution.
Coming up after the break, we head to the High Court in Pietermaritzburg and Bloemfontein, where matters involving former and late ANC leaders were heard. In Ndlovu, the quest for truth and justice for the families of Chief Albert Lutuli and anti-apartheid lawyer Griffith Mxenge began in earnest. While in the Free State, former Premier and Secretary General Ace Magashule is confident that he'll walk away scot-free from corruption and money laundering charges. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the wrap of your week in politics here on Newzroom Afrika, channel 405. Now, back in 2018, after being elected ANC Secretary General, Ace Magashule once popularly told a gathering to stay focused, as it was only a matter of 5 years. And this was, of course, a jab at President Cyril Ramaphosa, hinting that his time at the helm would be short.
So stay focused. My boy, ANC, it's just a matter of 5 years. It's a matter of 5 years. It's a matter of 5 years, comrade.
It didn't quite play out that way, as he now personally, 5 years later, is in the dock as his Asbestos corruption trial finally begins. The state says it has a strong case against all 18 accused in the multi-million rand Free State corruption case. The matter revolves around a 230 million rand tender to inspect, replace and remove asbestos roofs from houses. State advocate Nazir Kasim says the state paid big but got very little in terms of real value. The prosecution also wants a minimum sentence of 15 years behind bars for all the accused. Junior Kumalo was in Bloemfontein this week and filed this report.
With the formalities of entering pleas out of the way, the state on Wednesday laid out what it described as a strong case against all 18 accused.
The misrepresentation is glaring in this case. What you are doing goes through the whole process of the Free State government so that the payment can be made. The misrepresentation that I'm doing a necessary task in the public interest, when that necessary task did not comply at all, my lord, with procurement law.
In his opening salvo, Kasim emphasized that the joint venture by businessmen Edwin Sodi and Ignatius Mpambani were the ones that approached the provincial department contrary to the standard operating practice.
To demystify this particular case, my lord, is during a period 2014, 2016, in this province, in this city, my lord, an unsolicited bid, contrary to Section 217, contrary to TFM Act, contrary to Treasury regulations, contrary to chain management policy, ends up in a contract of 255 million, which by now 230 million has been paid.
He went on to detail how Sodi and Mpambani's companies went on to subcontract other entities to do the work they had placed a bid to accomplish. Worse, according to the state advocate, most of the 230 million rand was transferred to trusts and personal accounts with not much work towards the task of removing the cancer-causing asbestos roofs.
Real test is what value was given, my lord. Ultimately, somebody was paid 6.3 million to do the work. It is so that he has a contract for 23 million, but he was paid 6.3 million from the 230 million. The rest of the money, my lord, was distributed between businessmen, powerful politicians, and high-ranking officials.
Despite the state's reported strong case against them, all 18 accused persons and companies in the matter pleaded not guilty to the charges against them.
From the onset, I pleaded not guilty, publicly and formally doing so in court today.
Despite most accused being ready to proceed, accused number 2, Muhlomula Muhlakala, the former Free State Human Settlement Supply Chain Director, again indicated through his lawyer that proceeding would prejudice him. He has faced challenges securing legal aid assistance. The court adjourned until Wednesday. The matter is going to be back in court, with the judge expected to give a ruling on whether the matter is going to continue despite objections from accused number 2. For Newzroom Afrika on channel 405, I'm Junior Kumalo at the Bloemfontein High Court.
ANC top brass showed solidarity with the family of its slain President General Chief Albert Lutuli, who died under questionable circumstances in July 1967. Now, inquests into Lutuli's death and the murder of anti-apartheid lawyer Griffith Mcebisi began at the Pietermaritzburg High Court on Tuesday. Mcebisi's matter was postponed to the 17th of June, but Lutuli's continued. And this is where the state is leading evidence to disprove findings that his death was caused after he was hit by a goods train in Stanger, KwaZulu-Natal.
As we will see in the days to come, the ANC will be represented in this inquest as part of the witnesses, because we can tell a story, especially of Lutuli, how important he was as a historic figure who united the people of South Africa to establish the Congress of the People in 1955 that adopted the Freedom Charter, which has now become a blueprint for our new constitutional democracy. And as well as Mcebisi was at the forefront of human rights in our country. So all this truth will be revealed in order to erase all the secrecy of the apartheid regime. Now in open court, we will definitely know the truth. As we say, the truth will set us all free.
The investigating officer says Lutuli's injuries do not match the findings of the 1967 inquest. He's been on the case since 2019.
That's correct, my lady. From the post-mortem report that we received, it is Exhibit C. Most of the injuries were the head injuries. So it was not consistent with a person who can be struck by a train. That's why we are looking for an expert regarding the simulation to check the possibilities of the injuries together with the accident.
Lutuli's daughter-in-law testified how the feared apartheid police's special branch relentlessly harassed the ANC leader and then tried to conceal the real cause of his death.
The family never believed his untimely death was an accident. We could never reconcile his injuries with a collision with the train.
The state led evidence that the magistrate who presided over the 1967 inquest had already made up his mind days before hearing any testimony.
That the magistrate had already given indication about what these findings will be on the 19th of September, but he already made that findings on the 11th of September.
That's a wrap for this week, but while we're heading into another short week, there's still plenty to watch here on Newzroom Afrika. I'll be in Pietermaritzburg on Thursday as French arms company Thales goes to court trying to block the arms deal case. It's no surprise that former President Jacob Zuma is backing that bid, and I'll bring you every twist and turn as the saga unfolds. But on the same day, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky will meet with his counterpart Cyril Ramaphosa for talks at the Union buildings. Ending the war with Russia is high on the agenda. Meanwhile, in Washington, the second G20 finance ministers and central bank governors meeting kicks off with our own Enoch Godongwana and Lesicha Khanyago in attendance. As you can see, there's plenty to watch this week, and you know where to get all the updates. But for now, it's goodbye and thanks for watching.